Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. Look, man, Deontay Wilder returning to the ring. But I'm going to tell you this, there could be billions and billions of dollars on the table. If Wilder can get back to doing what we know he can do. Now, the thing is, Wilder said he had become too soft, too nice of a guy, helped too many people, and as a result, it didn't benefit him in his boxing career. And I will say this, I think when people get money, who they really are shows. Just like when people get drunk, what's really on their mind comes out. And for Deontay Wilder to have become rich beyond belief, who he really is a good human being with a good heart, who was raised right, raised in the church, and grandmother told him he was anointed, and he is that guy. But in the sport of boxing, he's got to sit that aside, at least during training camp, when he's training, and during fight night. Now you see, for those of you saying there's no way in the world Wilder could ever get back to making, millions of dollars, much less even possibly end up making $1 billion before he retires, I'll say this. That knockout is a special punch. It's a special it's a special experience when you're watching a fight and you see somebody get knocked out cold. And the knockout remains the most spectacular manifestation in the sport of boxing. See, what a knockout does is it thrills the public. And I just think it's a seemingly, and deeply satisfying kind of urge for fighters, especially like what Deontay Wilder, what he was, to come out here, man, and to clip an opponent. And Turki Al-Sheikh wants to see the knockouts. Turki Al-Sheikh damn near wants to see somebody get killed in that ring. Not saying they're wishing death on anyone, but that's the kind of violence that they were expecting Deontay Wilder to deliver. That's what Wilder was expecting to deliver as well. But it didn't quite get what they were hoping for from Deontay Wilder. Now, I know Daniel Dubois has been out here on a rampage. He's almost become what Deontay Wilder was. A guy who people are like, yo, this man is a no-kidding KO artist, maybe the hardest puncher in boxing. So he's replaced Deontay Wilder. But I tell you what, if Deontay Wilder can get back to doing what he's supposed to and have these ringside physicians worrying, then Deontay Wilder is back in business, man. Now, the thing, I don't think people really understand how special Deontay Wilder was and how special his power is, okay? Because you're talking about a concussion and unconsciousness and hitting somebody so hard that it drives the ringside physicians or the referee to jump up in that ring and stop the fight. You see, to the normal person, right, which most of us are, if you watch somebody get hit on the head, right, really clean shot, it can be followed by them losing consciousness, probably collapse, and, it could be a couple of seconds or so. You'll see them get a full recovery in a short period of time, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think people really understand what we're really seeing. You see, it's my understanding, man, when you're talking about straight punches, you're talking about hooks, you're talking about the uppercut, okay? You see, it depends on how a punch is thrown in the direction from where it comes from. You know, those shots can really lead to brain injury. And Deontay Wilder's a guy whose shots could have definitely led to brain injury with a lot of his opponents. Now, of course, hitting in the back of the head, but you see there's linear movements. There's like rotational or torsional movements. There's bending and stretching of the upper spine and brainstem at the neck level. And then there's the local impact to the skull, often with brain injury, to the opposite side, okay? And with Deontay Wilder, he's an individual who, for me, I just think was able to kind of translate or show that linear force, the straight punches. Because, see, the brain can absorb forces in a straight line. You know what Deontay Wilder, he's not really known for throwing no damn hooks or anything like that and getting nobody out of there. Wilder's known for getting that distance, throwing that jab, and coming with that straight right hand, okay? More of a front-back direction. And he had become a expert in that. He's gotten away from it, doesn't really throw it the way he used to, but it's still there. But for some people who are saying, okay, Hood Champion, what you getting at? How can you say that Wilder throwing these straight punches, right? That a person should be able to handle those shots fairly well. Well, there was a study done where they were trying to understand knockouts, right? They did a deep dive on knockouts and the type of punches that are thrown. And they were talking about how a person getting knocked out with a straight shot isn't as damaging as somebody getting hit with a hook or more of a rotational type force. Now, they say the rotational type forces are the major component in the concussional brain damage. Now, what they did is they talked about a woodpecker, and they said you take a woodpecker, and the woodpecker has this drilling behavior. They spend their time, kind of bashing their heads against trees, and they do this for their lifetime without damaging the brain. And what they said is because the bird keeps his beak parallel and avoids any rotatory component, he's able to absorb that shock fairly well and not damage his brain. Essentially saying, when it comes to boxing, a guy like Deontay Wilder throwing that straight right hand, yes, he can get a knockout, but it's not going to have the effect of destroying a brainstem, etc. And of course, they were just looking at the studies of a woodpecker and how a woodpecker is able to absorb those blows just in a linear movement. Now they went and they talked about, more of guys getting hit with hooks and getting hit with uppercuts, which I just wish Wilder would have really firmed up how to throw that hook properly and how to throw that uppercut, which he knows how, but lately when you watch him fight, he just looks more like he's slapping. But what they did is because there are some people who felt that, a straight right hand is more damaging than a hook or uppercut. I think we all know the uppercut may be the most damaging shot in boxing, then the hook, and then the straight right hand after. But the most important punch is the jab. But there was an experiment done where they took a silicone gel and a skull model, right? Because they're trying to understand in boxing, fighters getting hurt, the knockout blow, and what punch is the most devastating punch. So they had silicone gel and a skull model with the grid inserted, and that was subjected to more of a rotary force, kind of like getting hit with a hook or an uppercut. Anyway, what happened is the gross displacement was able to be seen in the diagram. Now, the gel simulated the consistency of brain tissue, and they felt that it simulated that fairly well. Now, the larger the force, and of course, we're considering this as a hook, the more displacement, and it was easy to see how when you're getting hit with those hooks and those shots of a rotatory force, that eventually you have nerve axons being torn, being stretched, and even blood vessels in the live brain experiencing the same kind of damage. But these extreme forces would not usually be seen in in fights where individuals aren't throwing a lot of hooks and a lot of uppercuts. Now, I just thought that was crazy because when they talk about rotation and you couple that with force, now you're talking about, bridging veins, which can be torn or ruptured, leading to serious hematomas. Now, this is what Deontay Wilder needs to, in my opinion, to show. That he can get in there, man. That he can cause the bending of a neck like he's done with fighters before. That he can have a fighter fall out on the canvas and convulse like he's done before. That he can come out when he's tired of playing around like with Bermain Stavern and get him out of there. Like he can come out there and say, okay, with Dominique Brazil, I'm going to get you out of here, man. Drop the 1-2 on him. Wilder has shown that whether you're talking about a linear force or rotatory force, when he decides he wants to let his hands go, that he can get you out of there and he can cause a lot of damage. And that is something that you're really not seeing when it comes to these heavyweights right now. And the reason I say that, because you look at Usyk and Tyson Fury, very good fight, very entertaining fight. Some hard shots were being landed. But I don't think there was anybody watching that saying, okay, they could possibly, as a result of the punches these guys are taking, end up being some kind of deformation of neural tissue. I just don't see that. Now, when Wilder gets in the ring, I think we all know that there's possibility of something, neurologically going wrong with his opponent if he lands cleanly. And I just think a guy like Wilder, man, he's just got to get back, man, to being what he was, man, a permanent and repeated knockout artist. Okay? And what he did is he delivered a cumulative load of dysfunction to the heavyweight division because they were all scared to get hit with that damn right hand. Shit, some of these fighters were punch drunk before even getting hit by Wilder. But now with Wilder and the type of damage that he's taken, the Fury fights and Zhang fights, this stuff that I'm sharing with you kind of applies to him as well. Okay? Because as much as I want to see him KO people and get back to his KO streak and go out here and make billions of dollars, I just got to wonder, man, what's next for Wilder if his heart really isn't in it? Because, look, man, we got to be real. With these fighters, we're talking about brains being involved. And we got to talk about Wilder's, too. Losing consciousness the way this man has lost consciousness. Those fights with Fury were brutal. Fighting Parker, got hit with a hard shot, was out on his feet. You can say he didn't feel that shot. He felt that shot. When he fought Zhang, out cold. I just want to know what's next, man. Because when it comes to it being able to enjoy your money, enjoy your family, you want to be able to have your consciousness. You want to have your alertness. You don't want any damage or dysfunction, man, as a result of being placed in a coma from fighting longer than you should have or fighting when your heart's not in it. But I tell you what, the obvious to me is that Wilder still has a passion for the sport. At least it sounds that way. But he's going to have to get in here, man, and show that he's still about boxing. Because the last thing you need is for Wilder to end up, man, getting knocked out, another concussion, and the fairy tale comes to an end in a tragic way. I listen to him talk. I don't know sometimes if he puts those fronts in his mouth or if he's on ayahuasca, but it sounds like he's slurring. And somebody suggested that he wears, gold fronts, like a gold bridge in his mouth. And that's why he sounds like he's slurring at times. And I hope that's the case because when I hear that, I'm like, damn, is this a early stage of impairment? You know what I'm saying? As a result of the damage he's taken and to the brain with Zhang and the Fury fights. But look, I don't know if any of that to be true. But what I do know, man, is that any blow can cause dysfunction by rotating the head. And when Wilder hits people straight shots, even when he does, even if it's a straight shot, Wilder hits so damn hard, when he lands cleanly, man, he could still end up rotating a fighter's head. But I think Wilder would have done more damage. And like he said at one point in time, wanted to catch a body. Shit, if he was throwing hooks the way he throws his right hand, I'm sure Wilder would have killed somebody in that ring. You know what I'm saying? A mouth guard can't protect you from that shit. It just can't. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Big money on the table for Wilder. Turki Al-Sheikh, I still don't think he's received what he was hoping for as far as having a fighter really be that guy who gets in the ring and just knocks people out cold. You know, Turki Al-Sheikh will pay big money for that. Wilder may have initially missed an opportunity to make them hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. But if he can get back to doing what he does, I think it's still there for him. Because I'm being real, right now you got Anyway who can tranquilize people. I can't say Tank Davis anymore because, you know, things didn't go the way people were hoping when he fought Lamont Roach, but, you know, that's just one fight. But who out here is consistently knocking people out cold? Wilder was, not anymore. Bertabiev was. He ran into Bivol. That shit didn't work out. But he more just grinds you down. You know, Pacquiao was doing it at a point in time. Of course, he doesn't fight anymore, but there's a point in time he knew Pacquiao hit you, he'd knock you out cold. There's no more Julian Jacksons. The Mike Tysons are gone. There's just no one out there who has that one hitter quitter. One shot can knock you out cold. No, Nino Donaire was another one that could knock you out cold with one shot. But this is Wilder's opportunity, man. Just not so sure he's not so sure he can pull it off again. But if he can, I'm telling you, I think there's huge money waiting for him. You already heard he says he wants to fight 3 times this year, so that just lets you know. This first fight is Tyrell Herndon, which the fight could go either way, in my opinion. After this fight, I have an idea of what he's bringing to the table, even though Tyrell Herndon is relatively, you know, unknown to most boxing fans. If Wilder gets in there and goes a distance with him, even in a victory, that's not going to really convince many people that Wilder's back. If he gets in there and gets knocked out by Herndon, you can forget about it. But if he comes in there in the first round or 2 rounds and knocks him out cold, people are going to say, okay, we see you, Wilder, but we want to see something next. Now, according to him, his next fight is going to be a big fight. So, against who, I don't know. But if it is a big fight against a big name, that's where Wilder's going to have to show up and show out and get another knockout. And then the third fight, I don't know who that's going to be or what exactly the plan is. I think it'll be bigger than the second. And that's where you could see Wilder, you know, back to getting them 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 million paydays. But he's got to come out here and knock people out cold. If he can come out here and he says that right hand is healthy and he can knock people out cold, he just needs to do it in these next 2 fights. I think Wilder walks into a $50, $80 million fight because he's going to have everybody's juices flowing. Same way AJ came back, fought Jermaine Franklin, fought Hellenius, fought Otto Wallen, fought Ngannou. You know, everybody was like, okay, AJ's back. Especially with that Wallen fight. It was like, wow. Then Ngannou knocked him out cold. So then he runs into Dubois, and, you know, he looked like he didn't warm up. He looked nervous, scared to punch. Dubois was catching him all night. Then finally AJ threw a shot that had Dubois dancing salsa in the ring. But the bottom line is he ended up getting knocked out. So if they can rebuild AJ, for Wilder, I think he can easily rebuild. I just don't think Wilder would need 5, 6 fights to rebuild. I think Wilder just needs 2 big-time knockouts, preferably between the first and second round. And I think Wilder's right back where he was before he fought Joseph Parker. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Billions on the table if Wilder can get his KO streak back. And we need to understand and appreciate how special a knockout punch is, especially when you get a guy who's able to throw a straight right hand and knock you out cold. Because the most devastating shot is that rotatory blow comes from the hooks, it comes from that uppercut. And Wilder's able to do the same, if not more damage, by throwing a straight right hand. And only if he was able to incorporate a powerful hook, I think Wilder would have probably got his body back when he was really out here tranquilizing people. Anyway, keep cool. Rooting for Wilder. We'll see what the future holds. I'm in the breeze.